Morning, everyone. Oh, hello. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? All right, we're gonna get started. I will call this meeting to order at 9:04 a.m. We'll go ahead and start with the land acknowledgement. Associated Students recognizes and acknowledges that the first people of this ancestral and unceded territory of Fernandino Tataviam, Band of Mission Indians that is now occupied by our campus of California State University Northridge, honors their elders past and present, and the descendants who are citizens of the Fernandino Tataviam, Band of Mission Indians. Associated Students recognizes that the tribe is still here, and we are committed to lifting up their stories, culture, and community. I'll now hand it over to Government Secretary Moss for the roll call.
Vice President Khan. Here. Senator Aronson.
Here.
Senator Ellis.
Here.
Senator Flores.
Here.
Senator Gavino.
Here.
Senator Jimeniano Aragon. Senator Harris.
Here.
Senator Covenia. Senator Miyoshi.
Here.
Senator Nunez.
Here. Here.
Senator Olgan. Senator Perez.
Here.
Senator Pulliam. Senator Radionov. Senator Weda. Senator Shirzadi.
Yay.
Senator Toledo Carranza. Senator Tran. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion on the floor? Senator Pulliam.
I move to approve the agenda for November 4th.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Flores. Any discussion on the approval of today's agenda? Senator Gavino.
I move to amend the agenda to strike through as amended under motion out of committee to approve the Communications Committee Code as amended.
Okay. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Perez. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Senator Gavino.
This is just taking away the as amended from the communication. It's not a code as amended. It's a completely new code. So that's the only reason.
Got it. Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, we can take this to a vote. All in favor of approving the amendment, please raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move back to the motion as amended. Is there any more discussion on the agenda as amended? Seeing none, then we can take it to a vote. All in favor of approving the agenda for November 4th as amended, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to the approval of the minutes for October 28th, 2024. Is there a motion on the floor? Senator Shirzadi.
I move to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Pulliam. Any discussion on the approval of the minutes from October 28th? Seeing no discussion, if there are no objections to the approval of the minutes, they will pass unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the minutes from October 28th pass unanimously. We'll now move on to special presentations. The first one being University Advising Updates and Feedback with Cindy Greco. Thank you. You're going to have to click the button on the mic too.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cindy Greco. I'm the Interim Senior Director of University Advising. Thank you for giving me some time this morning to update you on the changes, basically, that we've been making in advisement over the last couple of years. I know that this is a topic that's important to all of you. It's important to your students, and so I really just want to make sure that you have the information of all of the changes that we've been making over the last 2 years, starting really with the creation of my unit, which is University Advising. It's a central academic affairs unit responsible for providing support to our advisors, as well as professional development opportunities to ensure consistency in onboarding, training, and accountability for advisement, really as a way to ensure that we're using best practices in serving our students. My role was created in late spring of 23. I've been in this role since June of that year. When I stepped into the role, one of the first things I was tasked with doing was creating the position of Director of College Advising. So in each of the satellites, there has been a student services professional level 4 director, so kind of a lead advisor in each of the college satellites for decades. However, the kind of the onus of managing advisement fell on the associate dean, because advisors, even lead advisors, cannot supervise other advisors. So we had to create a management level position in order to manage the advisement unit in each college. So each of those directors reports to me, as well as the Matador Advising Hub director. So let me use this here. So in my portfolio is the Matador Advising Hub, the directors of college advising. I also hold monthly advising community meetings. That includes our staff, faculty, and campus partners in advisement. I launched a University Advising Leadership Council this semester. So we'll be meeting twice per semester with kind of key stakeholders across campus, working on priorities such as developing a mission, vision, and student learning outcomes for advisement, assessment around advisement, and again, professional development opportunities. I'm also responsible, like I mentioned, for the onboarding and ongoing training of our advisors. So it's really giving us an opportunity to focus on advisement and having one kind of responsible party for advisement, what we haven't had previously. Whereas, like my job is just to think about advisement all day, every day. And so I do. And this is, the structure that we have been creating in each of the colleges, kind of a consistent management structure to ensure that there is accountability also in advisement. This is all happening at the same time at the chancellor's office level, where they're looking at advisement as being potentially an institutional barrier for students. And so when I stepped into this role, we had the opportunity to have external consultants from NACADA, which is the National Academic Advising Association, come to campus to review our advisement program. Since we were already acting on a lot of the recommendations that had come out of previous reports, we decided to focus on a review of the Matador Advising Hub. Excuse me. It's been in existence for 5 years up to this point, and hadn't really had kind of the focused review that other entities had on campus. So we invited them to, through their lens of the 9 conditions for excellence in academic advisement, look at the Advising Hub and how it works within the greater system of advisement at CSUN. So as part of their work, they pulled together focus groups that included students, staff, and administrators. They reviewed all of the recent reports dating back to the Hanover study regarding academic advisement over the last few years, and synthesized all of that into a final report with a focus on the strengths, challenges, and actionable recommendations that we could use in order to enhance student experiences with academic advisement. And so as a result of that review, in addition to the kind of structural change we were already doing in the colleges, they asked us to consider overall structural change, because they noted that there are challenges inherent in appropriately staffing 2 advising systems. So with the Matador Advising Hub, that saw only freshmen, then trying to transition them smoothly to the colleges, and then appropriately staffing the colleges, they could see that there was a challenge in that. They asked us to consider returning our first-time freshmen to the colleges, redeploying some of the hub advisors to meet the new demand that would be created as a result, and to consider establishing a program or a major caseload approach to advisement, so that students will know when they start CSUN who their advisor is, where they go for advisement. They'll get to know this advisor, and this advisor will also have program knowledge. So they'll be in place with a person that knows, what their goals are, and also, what classes they should take in support of those goals. So throughout their entire time, from beginning to end to graduation. They asked us to consider maintaining the hub as the home for exploratory and international students, and to create a central resource for advisors and students. And so, having considered this and thought on it, the provost did agree that we needed to move our freshmen back to the colleges. And so that's the work that we've been doing over the last 2 years. So kind of the key transitions that are coming out of the advisement plan are to retain exploratory and international at the hub and move the rest of our freshmen back to the colleges. And we're doing this in a phased approach starting this past spring, so as not to, disrupt the daily work that needs to continue to get done, even as we're making these kind of larger changes. So moving the freshmen back to the colleges and moving toward a caseload method of advisement. So where we are now, we've hired 6 of the 7 management level directors of college advising. There's still one search that is in process. We also recognize that we need more advisors to meet the demand. And so in addition to continuing to fill the vacancies, we've also, we had gotten approved for 24 new advisors on campus. We have hired 18 of those 24 so far and are continuing to search for those remaining 6 positions. Beginning in spring of this past year, in preparation for fall 24 advisement, all first-time freshmen that came in with 30+ units, so already with a full year's worth of units, were moved to their colleges immediately upon entry. All humanities majors and all science and math majors went to their colleges for advisement. For SBS, they took their largest major, which is psychology. And AMC took their smaller majors, so music, theater, journalism, and communications. So all of those freshmen have gone to their colleges from the get-go. The rest of the incoming freshmen have been continued to be served by the hub they were served over the summer and in preparation for fall 24 advisement. So for spring 25 advising, which is happening right now, we moved marketing and management, so the 2 largest majors in business, to their college for second semester advisement, and the remaining 2 large majors to SBS, CJ, criminology and justice studies, and sociology to social and behavioral sciences. So the hub continues to serve all health and human development majors, all engineering computer science majors, deaf studies majors, the larger majors from AMC, so art and CTVA. And you can see, for business, there's a few majors left, as well as SBS, their smaller majors. So the hub still serves roughly about 3,800, maybe 4,000 students, and the rest of the freshmen have been assimilated into the colleges. So thinking ahead for fall 25 advisement, the goal is to have all freshmen being advised by their colleges by the beginning of fall 25. And so in early spring, we'll be moving all deaf studies majors to their college, potentially some other majors, depending on kind of what the enrollment numbers look like and what's manageable. But by late spring, all incoming fall 25 freshmen will be served in outreach to by their colleges, except for exploratory and international students. We've also moved EOP exploratory from central EOP into the hub. So this way, all exploratory students go directly to the hub. And then we'll continue to serve international. So our first-time freshmen for their first year and transfer international students for their first semester will continue to be served by the hub. As far as caseload advising, we're continuing to hire the new SSPs into the colleges, as well as filling the vacancies as they arise. Of the six new directors of college advisement, they had all been previously the lead advisors, and so that left open their SSP4 position. So all of those will continue to be backfilled as well. We're moving toward getting the ratios down to 350 to 1 for each advisor. For some colleges, they're already there. In fact, they're below that ratio. Some other colleges, they need, those new hires in order to get to that rate. Ideally, the ratio would probably be more like 250 to 1 or 300 to 1, but 350 to 1 is a huge improvement for some of the areas that we're seeing, ratios of 800 to 1, 900 to 1. So there's already some of those gains that we're starting to see. We'll continue to move the remaining majors to the colleges, redeploying some of the hub advisors to the colleges. And then I'm working on a timeline on how we can get to caseload, which is again, that assigned advisor for each student, developing a timeline for that in collaboration with the directors of college advisement, with the University Advising Leadership Council, and our advising community. So that's kind of where we're at. I wanted you to have that information as you are asked by students what's happening, or if you are hearing questions or concerns, you can let them know kind of the path, the vision forward. But I'd like to do I have the opportunity to ask questions? Do you have any?
Absolutely. Does anyone have questions? Yep, Senator Perez.
Thank you for the update. I have an interest in advising, so it was great to hear all that. I did have a question about the 24 positions
Yes.
from this year. Are those specific to freshmen or just specific to the college?
Good question. They're specific to the colleges. So we're not hiring new advisors for the hub. We're keeping about 5 advisors that are already there that will continue to be at the hub. But all the new positions or any vacancies from the hub are going to the colleges to be hired specifically by their directors of college advising.
Senator Nunez.
Hi, again, thank you for coming in and explaining this to us, because I know it was a little confusing. Like, I would hear different things and I'm like, how would people know? So my question is, would these new freshmen or these majors coming in, that would go to the hub or heard of the hub, how would they get notified that this new like program is in place and that to go to their department?
For those that came in this
Yes.
year? Yeah, great question. So that was something that we all had to put our heads together to figure out like how, I mean, there's going to be confusion when you're making changes, right? I mean, that's just kind of, it goes with the territory, but we wanted to really minimize it as much as possible. And so I worked with enrollment services to, and admissions on their outreach to students as far as who was getting outreach to for advisement from whom. So anybody that was hub eligible should have only gotten, outreach from the hub. If they were supposed to go to a college, they would have gotten their advisement from their office. The Enrollment Services Strategic Communications Director, she created a template. So each of the communications should have looked similar as far as the instructions and how to access advisement, et cetera, with just the location being different and then potentially 1 or 2 additional things for each college to make it a little bit more tailored. So that was one way. We also made sure that the University Advising website was updated as well as the hub website. There's going to be some confusion for those students that came in, one, not knowing what their major was, or also wanting to change their major right away. So, you know, we handled those case by case as well, but that was primarily how we handled the communication. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Feel free to reach out to me if you do have any. My contact information is up on the screen. But thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm silly. We'll now move on to the next presentation, CSUN Ready update with the TUC. Please don't mind the speakers list. I don't think it's as accurate for today. I think it's a previous. Okay, nice. It's not even there. Good. Go ahead.
Going back this up. I'm sorry about this. I'm trying to back it up. Oh, red button. Okay. So thanks for having me back, folks. Rick Evans again, Executive Director of the University Corporation. We'll be quick. Just want to update you on some new data that we have and on CSUN Ready. But real briefly, quick recap. We call these programs equitable access. Actually, we don't call it. The industry calls these programs equitable access. They're designed to ensure students automatically have all their learning materials before classes start. Students register for class as usual. Their required learning materials are automatically populated. Students can opt out if they choose to stay in. Their student account is charged. Our goal is to implement it for fall 2025. Students may use financial aid to cover the program. We've spent the last several months although we've been working on this program for a few years, we've spent the last several months working with several faculty members, faculty senators, and AS president and a community member, Carlos Fuentes, who you heard speak, looking at how we can improve the program. The first thing we started our discussions with were our required learning materials a need. We know that they're not a basic need like housing, food insecurity, transportation, and even mental health. But where do we fit in on that paradigm? So again, we recognize they're not a basic need, but as a college student, having our learning materials is a need. Let let's see. You all heard Carlos Fuentes, former AS president from like 1978, speak several weeks ago on removing barriers. I'll be much quicker, and that is students who succeed are those that are able to navigate the bureaucracy and the chaos of coming into higher education. We see CSUN Ready as part of removing one of those barriers. Obviously, there's more barriers than just getting our books, but CSUN Ready is one of those. Really quickly on OER, or Open Educational Resources, the concern was raised by some folks that will a program like CSUN Ready be a disincentive for faculty to create OER? Let me start by saying that Follett is not seeing that. Follett is our almost 30-year campus store partner. They operate 14 of the stores within 23 of the CSU campuses, 22 campuses now. They're not seeing that. In fact, they're seeing growth of OER on their campuses. San Diego State implemented this type of program 3 years ago, and they're seeing growth of open source material. Let's see. Oh, so OER complements a program like this. The more OER we have on our campus, the lower the long-term cost of CSUN Ready will be. And we're trying to encourage that. The third bullet, Follett will be providing a $100,000 grant to faculty to develop, to continue to develop OER. Let's see, opting out is a high priority. Again, the question, opt-in versus opt-out. There's over 300 of these programs. All of them are opt-out. There's many reasons for this. You get deeper discounts with publishers. We also want all our students to get their books. And again, opting out will be the ease of it. I want to take a moment on this slide because this whole opt-in, opt-out thing keeps coming up. And we've looked at a couple of research scientists named Madrian and Shea did a study and coined this term that they call inertia and effort aversion. That's where people have a tendency to maintain the current position, even if change would be beneficial to them. And so they looked at 401k programs, and I encourage all of you, as soon as you graduate, start thinking about retirement. 401k programs are the number one way of saving for retirement in today's world. They looked at 401k programs where switching from opt-in to opt-out increased participation in retirement savings programs from an average of 34% to 85% participation. Again, saving for retirement is important. So this study concluded that people assume the default position is actually the company or the institution's recommended course of action. So if it was already, I need to opt in, I'm already opted out, I'm going to stay opted out. So before, when it was opt-in, employees were largely choosing not to opt in as they thought that that was the best option. I use that as an example that automatically opting our students into CSUN Ready is in most students' best interest. Jeff will show you in a moment, just financially. And so we want them to start from the position, and they can decide then if they want to opt out. The ease of opting out with CSUN Ready versus, say, My CSUN Digital Access, which was on a course-by-course basis, we can advertise campus-wide the ease of opt-out. On the portal, the website, and reminder text, social media, and emails. We recently shared at the last time we were here that there were several focus groups. Again, this group want to thank you for encouraging students to participate. There were 12 focus groups. 40 students were in attendance, not all at once. They were really engaged, and the feedback that they provide us is going to be incorporated. There was no opposition to the program in these meetings. In fact, students appreciated the program and discussed a few themes, and I'm going to show those real quickly. Convenience, ease of opt-out, And we discussed potential pricing models, and the general consensus was a flat fee is the best way to go. So a lot of takeaways from these student groups, but possibly the biggest one is we want to do a flat fee instead of a course by course unit fee. So this will be the lowest or equal to the lowest equitable access program in the CSU. More than 7 units, $250. Less than 7 units, $150. Real quickly, some data before I turn to Jeff. UC Davis was the first to start these programs 4 years ago. They analyzed that only 30% of their students were getting all the required learning materials, or 70% did not have. Now 85% of their students have all of their learning materials. Middle Bullet, San Diego State had similar results. Our own MyCSUN Digital Access survey showed that 71%, again, this wasn't an empirically study, but we did ask those MyCSUN Digital Access students that opted out. They said 71% showed that they were not buying all of their course materials. And that was the initial reason why we started looking at this type of program. We also surveyed our MCDA students. Almost 80% said having the course materials better prepared them for class. Last bullet, 73% said they would rather register for an immediate access or equitable access program like CSUN Ready. Real quickly, we surveyed our MCDA students in 2023. You can see convenience is the green bar. That was the thing they liked about it most. The middle bar was having materials on the first day of class was second. Affordability is still important, but it's not the most important. And we're finding that in other data. Then we surveyed the students again this last spring, and you can see the convenience bar pulled further ahead. I showed this to this group last time, but I'll just be very quickly point out that there was a study of 23,000 students at 2-year institutions, so not like a 4-year institution, but we can draw some conclusions. They showed that those students that stayed in the program had a 16% higher course completion rate than those that opted out. So on the left there, 72% are the ones that stayed in, 57% are the ones that stayed out or opted out. Over to the right, Pell eligible, that delta increased another percentage point to 17% improvement. Okay, before I turn to Jeff, one last slide. Barnes & Noble, we're not a Barnes & Noble campus, we're a Follett campus, but they conducted a survey of 5,000 students, 91% that participate in equitable access. 91% said the program was convenient. 86% said they were better prepared. 81% said it had a positive impact on their success. And 77% said the materials were more affordable. I know I burned through that really quickly, and I apologize, but I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to turn to our faculty president, Dr. Jeff Wigley. Did I just drop something?
Yeah, we just broke everything.
Great. We just...
Hopefully that antenna is not really needed and it's just a fake sort of thing. Hi, I'm Jeff Wigley, and I am the faculty president, but I think today I'm more speaking to you as a faculty member who's been working with Rick and the Faculty Senate since the spring on this. And thank you very much for allowing me to present last week. I had an inquiry from one of the senators last week, and it was the Senator from Engineering and Computer Science. And if I haven't had a chance to meet most of you at times, but generally I'm well known in the College of Engineering and Computer Science as being pretty much an anti-authoritarian. I'm famous for having websites that tell students, no, I am not seating you because administration has refused to provide me with enough class seats to put your butt in and things like that. And so their email basically started out with, I am surprised that you're in support of this. Why? And so I wanted to speak to you today about that a little bit. In the spring, TUC and Rick Evans presented this, and the Faculty Senate had a lot of problems with it. And I would definitely be one of the individuals that had problems with the CSUN Ready at the time. And some of those problems, and I did respond to the senator in great length. I hope they've shared the email with you. I'm it's not confidential or anything like that. So if you know, grab your CECS senator and grab that email and read it all. But for some examples, we didn't feel that there was what's called shared governance in the development of this program, so that we didn't have a lot of feedback from faculty or the people that were teaching the classes and things like that. And that was certainly a problem. TUC has presented data like, you know, this helps 80% of the students, but faculty tend to have a different view of the forest, and we look at more of the trees. So, you know, if you've got 100 kittens and 80 of them benefit, but you have to murder the other 20, that's not really an acceptable solution for us. So we always looked at this program and we said, well, the ones that it didn't benefit, how are they harmed by this? What does this change do to them? And specifically, what are the demographics of those students that are harmed? Because we don't want to take students that are already disadvantaged and provide them with an even greater disadvantage by some program that's in place, and thereby, you know, the opposite of our equitable goals that we state. And then I was very concerned about that data, that 80%, that 20%, whatever the numbers are. What are we doing to whom? And what can we do to mitigate the problems that it occurs? So those are sort of things that we came up with. There are other problems that we had. On the shared governance, the Faculty Senate was going to produce, most likely produce a resolution at the end of spring that was just, we hate this. And TUC, before that even came to the Senate floor, Rick Evans and the TUC was like, we hear you. We are going to postpone this. We are going to go back. We are going to redo this. And so for the past 6 months, 6 months really, the focus groups have come out. We've had an ad hoc committee of faculty members who have been looking at this in conjunction with the TUC and Follett, and they've actually been seeing what the conditions, the constraints, the challenges are, all of that, and their feedback I have seen go into this new plan. Changes have been made. We've gone from a per unit fee to a flat fee, which seems to be something that the student focus groups liked better. I do see the benefits of that in terms of being able to plan what your budget is for spring, because, you know, as students, I see all of you don't have your schedule figured out until week 2 or 3. So you don't know what books you're buying, and you don't know whether that other class that you're going to pick up is going to be that physics class that requires, you know, the $120, $200 book for a GE physics that you're never going to have to worry about Newtonian mechanics ever again. But knowing that $250 is what you have to obtain between now and spring, I can see the convenience factor in that. So I like some of the consultation, the feedback that's gone in. Data. I think it's the big green button. So the big thing for me was data. And I generally have opinions and they can be swayed by data. And I pushed back very hard on Rick and said, we have to have data. And I had hoped that we would be able to do an insurmountable challenge of like actually taking 300 or 400 random students, actual students with a student ID, figuring out what their course materials would have cost like in 2024, and then comparing that to $250. And do they have a cheaper cost? And Rick has gone and done a lot of work on that, worked with institutional research, and they were able to do it, except they did it for all students. So the data that I'm here to present to you covers everybody in a bunch of different demographics. So some of the things to know about the data that I'll present is that we couldn't get 2024 data because the cost of the materials currently comes from Follett, and they don't have 2024 costs in a database. So we went with 2023 and we accounted for inflation and we increased the costs due to the inflation sort of things. One thing to know, when you buy your books, those costs have a tax, sales tax on them. And that's already included in the $250. So on top of the numbers you'll see, there's also sales tax. So that's another, 10% different. And then we did the data by a variety of different subsets that might be interesting to you. So very tiny values here. Sorry about that. This is all undergraduate students. The left-hand column is the number of units that the students are enrolled in, and the next column is how many students have that course load. And the 4 colored columns are kind of the prices of the different pricing structures that students can choose, because you can choose to rent books, or you can choose to buy books, or you can choose digital ebooks and things like that. So those things have a different range of costs, the most expensive being on the rightmost column and the least expensive estimated cost being the leftmost green column. And this is the start of data that starts letting me be more comfortable with opt-out and with the program in general, because as you can see, the result is that if students are buying their textbooks through the Follett bookstore, then every shade that's green indicates a student that saves money. Now, my colleagues and I, the faculty who are discussing this, we do realize that not all of you buy your books through the bookstore. You buy them through Amazon, you buy them used through Amazon, you find magical PDFs of them, which has ethical problems with it. But I will completely say that at some point when you're faced with how much a certain thing costs to achieve your goals, then humans will try to circumvent that cost in all sorts of ways. And something like CSUN Ready and the university's administration's attempt to reduce course material costs helps eliminate that kind of challenge and that barrier. So keep that in mind. So the vast majority here do benefit from this program if they're buying their textbooks through Follett. And it's just kind of an overwhelmingly large number. And for the undergraduates, it doesn't really matter if you are under 7 units or you're over 7 units. For just the big demographic of undergraduate students, you get a benefit. And as you can see, once you're full-time over 12 units, basically the chart just turns all green. And so I think there's a large benefit to this program to an awful lot of students. And while I am not a fan of kind of corporate tactics like, oh, it's a free trial, just put your credit card in here and then just magically remember to cancel before 7 days is up, I don't like those. They're predatory. I know that opt-out feels a little bit like this. If we don't do this, then we're not, if like Follett doesn't have a business model really for opt-in. As Rick pointed out, there's some hundreds of these programs out there, they're all opt-out. And if we don't do this program, then we're definitely not making this available to anybody. And that has me a little worried. I'd rather make it opt-out and present so that people have a choice, at least, even if you have to press a button for those people to make that choice. So we were also worried about subdivisions of this. Like if you are a financially disadvantaged student and this, the cost of college is an investment and it's a significant expense. And many of our students are Pell Grant recipients, which means that this is already a really, really significant challenge for their budgets. And you can see that when we break down just the Pell recipients, again, this is almost all green across here. So if they are buying their textbooks through the textbook store, then they would see a benefit from this program. And if you look at some of these numbers again, like if you look at 12 units, that's $310 on the minimum side. So it's a $60 savings. It's a significant percentage of what they're doing. And again, over 12 units, it's universally sort of the best thing if they are not going to outside sources for books and things like that. And even in 7 or 12 units and lower than 7 units, we see that most students could benefit from this program. The non-Pell students are similarly well served by this. Here's where the chart looks a little different though. When we broke this down by your standing, freshman, junior, sophomore, senior. And this is one of the charts that looks like it doesn't benefit as many people. One of the things that I'd be careful about looking at this slide, because I think there is some truth to that. It's not universally. The students who are freshmen we would have a greater onus to market to them, hey, you can opt out. This is what your costs are. This is what they are if you opt in. This is what they are if they opt out. Here's the button for it. But one of the things to notice is any of the rows where it's all yellow, look at the total count of students that are in there. Most of this chart has only about, I think, 300 to 300 students or so total in the freshman population that don't benefit from this. And once again, once you get to the full-time students around 13 units or more, the benefit seems to be apparent. The others, juniors, seniors, sophomores, the chart looks like this. It was just across the board, all good. Now, in all of these charts, you may be seeing those that take 1 unit or less, it's almost always yellow. It's not beneficial for them because they're taking 1 course and it's going to be like 1 lab. So 1 lab book is going to cost you, $100, $120. That's not more than $150. We've been discussing with Follett, they're going to automatically opt out anybody that has 1 unit. So Follett is not being, unreasonable about this. If you are taking all 0 unit costs courses, all with those 0 cost classes that you see in your schedule, if your entire class schedule that you've picked is all 0 cost, automatically opt that out. I'd love to see a calculation, which is they actually do a calculation and then put you in the right category, but they're not going to do that. And I can see implementation difficulties with that, getting the numbers from the students in real time, and their databases for stuff may not be easily integrated. So I see a lot of benefits. This is another example of a demographic that we pulled out that seems to not have the same level of benefit, that I can't universally state that I think this is the best for their college, and that's arts, media, and communication. And I think this could be the result of arts, media, and communication classes having a lot of course materials that are not picked up through the bookstore. Paints, brushes, canvases, things like this that you don't see in the bookstore. So they may have a lot of course material costs that aren't reflected as something you can buy in the bookstore. And then this system wouldn't be able to help them because we can't do canvases rented and things like that. I guess you could if you paint over them. So this would be another example of where we as a university have to take a care for those students in marketing what their costs are, providing for an easy button for them to opt out. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But other ones generally look like business and economics, College of Engineering, humanities, all largely green across the board, except for a couple of areas where we see these yellows, and it doesn't seem to indicate that we're not doing something that's beneficial for students. So there's health and human developments. All of your full-time students are getting a benefit from this, and we just have to make sure that we market to the others. Let's see. CSUN represents a lot of first-generation students, and we looked at that as a demographic, and those students are not really disadvantaged by this program either, and if they are, they can opt out. So for the most part, if you're more than 6 units, this seems to produce a benefit for you. The greater the number of units that you take, the greater that benefit can be if you are buying your books through the textbook store. CSUN since COVID has been, as an institution, we've been trying to improve the 4-year and the 6-year graduation rates. We love you all, but we want you out of here as quickly as possible so you can get jobs and buy cars and houses and all of that too. So one of the things that we were doing for the past many years now, since COVID is now quite a few years behind us, we've been pushing students to take larger and larger unit workloads. This is something that as a faculty member, I was very skeptical about at first. Take another class so that you improve our numbers. I don't really care what the numbers are in a spreadsheet. I don't care if you're here for 7 years. I don't care if you're here for 9 years. What I care is that you stay here, you make progress, you get your degree. That's what I've told a lot of my students when they're like, this is my 6th year. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Get the degree, job security, financial stability for the future. All of that sort of stuff is very important to me. Provost Walker was our provost at the time, and I was very skeptical about this. And I said, I don't like forcing them to take more units. Like, that's more hours that they have to put in. That's more hours on top of their part-time jobs. That's more hours on top of taking care of their families, the first-generation students, and all of that I talked about. And so I worry that that puts an overwhelming workload on someone, and then their grades slip. Well, it turns out that the numbers we got back over the following years were that those students that did start taking more units had higher GPAs. So I'm like, well, Wigley, shut up. Seems to be good. But it does mean that if we're going to do a program like that and push students towards that, then a program like this becomes more beneficial because you can take as many classes as you want and the cost stays the same. You don't have to figure out how to come up with another $100 or $200. And, living in Los Angeles on the cost of things in this city and a lot of the challenges that we have, that can be a lot of money that people don't have in a budget. So I'm sensitive to that. Now, speaking a little bit as faculty president, one of my jobs is to kind of coordinate with a variety of different administrators. And my colleagues and myself are worried about the opt-out side, making it, Rick has put up slides here and said, it's easy. Do you guys find solar easy all the time? No. I'm sick and tired of pressing Duo. That wastes an average of 20 seconds of my day every single day. And when that's, 40,000 of us on the campus doing that every single day, the number of man days that is wasted every single day on that just blows my mind. So here's why I'm still in favor of this, because I've been talking to Rick and I have no belief that they want anything other than to make it as simple as possible. I've talked to the Vice President of Information Technology, Ranjit Phillips, and had discussions with him about, as we go forward, his division is going to have some responsibility for making that clickable action easy and to understand what that means. I'm a computer scientist. I develop websites and things like that. I do not want to see clicks. I want to see scrolling because that's much faster. I don't want to click through to things. Just one click would be nice. And VP Phillips is listening to me. And I've had discussions with Follett and Rick. Whatever button we give you, whatever that action is, I've let them know it cannot just be opt-out. You change your classes and all of a sudden realize that you took on 2 more classes that you weren't expecting and the cost now is beneficial, you should be able to opt back in. And then if you decide that you made your calculation wrong because you made the wrong Excel spreadsheet, opt back out again. Go toggle it back and forth as many times as you want until census. And Rick is on board with this. VP Phillips is on board with this. VP Phillips has said things like, well, the opt-out system, the actual button is on Follett's side. So you get transferred over to there and we don't really have control over their system. That's fine. That doesn't mean that we can't put all sorts of links that hyperlink you over to their site on our site. And we're behind this. So I think that's a good thing. And then one of the biggest reasons I've come around since spring on, I don't think this is a bad idea, are kind of 2 things. Do I have more slides or am I at the end? That's it. I'll ask questions in a second. 2 things. Number 1, everybody can opt out. So you can still choose to go get your books from Amazon or from the magical web places. I hope you don't choose that. I hope what we've done is provided something that has a cost that's low enough that you can engage in it and feel very comfortable with your purchase. There's no downside to this because everybody can opt out. There's nothing mandatory about being in the program. So there's that. Many of my colleagues, I'm trying to be a little objective about that because many of my colleagues are not as positive about this, and I want to include their voice as well as I can because I am faculty president to a certain extent and representing them. So they worry about things like this being a displacement of OER. And we kind of want OER so that we have all free open educational resources, so that maybe, when your children go to the university, this program will be gone and Follett will be gone. That would be nice. Remember, I was one of you at one point. I remember buying physics books in 1991 and they were $150. So that's bad. But everybody can opt out. And I think in the end, we have a system here that people could take a benefit of that we won't have if we don't do this. Now, on the OER side, many of my colleagues think that this is a competition, that it displaces OER. You've seen that as part of our agreement with Follett, we have a very large grant. It's larger than, I think, Rick can back this up, larger than anything else that the other CSU campuses that have a accessible course thing have. I'm not sure about its sustainability. I'm about to throw Vice Provost Joy and the provost under the bus here because I've been having discussions with my colleagues. It's definitely something that we do not intend to displace OER. And that I'm going to have a meeting with the provost tomorrow, and she doesn't know that one of my issues is going to be, one of the things that comes up is our campus seems to have lost kind of the institutional message of supporting faculty in their OER initiatives. And if we're going to do CSUN Ready, this is a very good time to bring that back to the front so that that is happening at the same time. There are other benefits, and I know I'm running long here. I apologize.
Jeff, I was just going to say, we're at 30 minutes right now.
Perfect. I'll wrap it up in like 2.
Okay.
There's other benefits to this. As a faculty member, I teach an advanced data structures class, and the data structures that I teach come in a kind of 2 parameters. You have tree-based data structures and you have graph-based data structures. I cannot find a good textbook for both. I can find a good textbook for trees. I can find a good textbook for graphs. Both of those textbooks are those $100+ textbooks. So I don't choose both because I'm not going to make you charge for 2 textbooks. I have to choose one of them. Under this program, Follett has given us their promises. I don't know what the contract is going to be yet. We can choose as many books as we want. So I can now take my class and I can have both of those textbooks required. Both of them will be included in the $250 cost. So some of the arguments about, my colleague, Professor Noga, if he chooses all of his books from Follett, it becomes kind of this incentive that I also have to choose books from Follett. Otherwise, I'm adding additional cost to the students. And that could be a limitation of my academic freedom as an instructor. But there are offsetting things like I get the academic freedom of there are 5 textbooks for this course. And so there's some better material availability for you as well. So I'll stop there. I'm over time, but I'll still answer questions if I'm allowed to take questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Senator Aronson?
Hi, Professor. Thank you so much for coming. So the main question that I really am interested to learn more about is the idea of transparency. So as you voiced, I think the opt-in, opt-out discussion is obviously a very fruitful one. Obviously, not every student is going to always be focused on, let me check my CSUN email all the time. They're not always going to be looking at like updates on the website that you might have to go through a couple different clicks to get to. And those students in a program like CSUN Ready, which is opt-out, might, end up in a program that they don't necessarily want to be in. And also, like going back to what Mr. Evans presented about the idea of psychology, and that people are going to want to rather stay in a situation rather than leave, even if leaving might be beneficial for them. I think there's a lot of students at CSUN that, like you said, have a lot of other priorities, are focused on school, focused on studying for finals, focused on their jobs, and they might not have the time to be able to figure out that CSUN Ready even exists, let alone know that it's an opt-out program and know where to opt out. So I guess my question is just, how are you going to make it so that students not only know about the program, but also know how to opt out? Even students that may not be super, checking Solar every day and checking their email every day.
Thank you for the question. One of my students in my class is behind on their assignments, and I found out it's because they're dealing with all of this prenatal care. I don't even have children. I can't imagine being a student and having to worry about the anxiety of prenatal care. So the button for opt-out on a scale of priorities, prenatal care, opt-out isn't even in the room. I think I don't have the exact answer for your question, because a lot of this would be implementation based, and that would happen during kind of the spring and summer leading up to fall. But in my discussions with Mr. Evans and VP Phillips, that has always been kind of the focus of the opt-out ability, is making it easy so that when you're going through classes in your course schedule, the button is right there, that, there's always an informational point that says, you are currently enrolled in the CSUN Ready program. You may opt out, and a blurb of what it is and why it is and things like that. I also have been impressing on Mr. Evans and others that if we can, and I'm not sure about, the tractability of this sort of thing, providing them with data at the moment that they're seeing the button. This is what your course materials cost under the CSUN Ready program. This is what your course materials cost if you opt out. So that they don't necessarily have to do that calculation themselves. I think there may be a lot of challenges to that, but that's the type of advice that I've been giving us as we go into the implementation of this. It's not just about being as transparent and obvious as possible, but providing as much information as possible so that the students understand the cost difference and the opportunities and the disadvantages of the button that they're selecting. And as I mentioned in the presentation, being able to reverse that if they find out that they're wrong. So that's kind of the best we have at this time. Other questions?
Any other questions? And these will be the last three, okay? Just because we are short in time. We'll do Senator Toledo Carranza.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. My question is, I've seen the demographics and all the data, and one of them is non-Pell Grants students. So, which would that include DACA and non-undocumented students as well? That's one of my questions. And the other part two is 12 focus groups were studied, and over 40 students participated in it. So, what are the focus groups that you guys had for this survey? Like, what are the students, the demographics of it?
So the first question was DACA. They would definitely be included in the program. What was the second question?
If I could have more of the demographics for the 12 groups that you guys had for the survey,
The 12
the
student
12 focus groups.
They're wondering about how they were selected or what their demographic was.
Well, Katie, you probably know more about that
I can
than I do.
answer. So the sorry, let me just bring it up.
So there was 12 focus groups, total of 40 students. And I don't have demographic data on them, but I mean, Katie, you attended a lot of those. It was
I
pretty
did.
good.
So I just pulled them up. I don't know the specific demographics of how many people went to every focus group, but I do know that the email that I sent to everyone about participating in the focus groups went to the following groups. So I sent it to AS leadership. I sent it to the USU BOD chair and vice chair, which they also sent to all of their student staff. Sent it to the Glen Omatsu House, Black House, Women's Research and Resource Center, Chicano House, AS Sport Clubs, RHA, Dream Center, International Students Exchange Center, Project Rebound, and Parents Scholars Resource Center.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Vice President Khan. Granted. Senator Gavino.
Hey, thanks for coming, guys. These questions are mainly going to be for Mr. Evans. They're three like very related questions, so I'll just get through them really quickly. So you had the estimated prices up there in the charts. Just for clarification, those are only accounting for materials purchased or rented from the Fullwood
Correct,
store,
yeah.
no alternative service.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I have a class where they have to buy a microcontroller kit from Amazon. That would still be an additional cost
Perfect.
on them.
Yeah, thank you. Follow up to that. Is there data, maybe a survey that was done on how many students solely get their materials through the bookstore?
No, that I don't think we've done that. It would definitely be something I would want to. Some of that data might be challenging to get to because, a question would be, are you getting your books as free PDFs? And nobody should answer that question, right? But no, that would be a piece of data that I would have liked to have gotten.
Well, we do know a little bit that when I've been with the university 26 years, and so 25 years ago, about 70% of our students were buying books at the bookstore. That's down to 20%. So no, that doesn't mean they don't get their books elsewhere. So I know that less than 30% of our students are getting all of their learning materials. So we might have 50% of our students getting some of their learning materials, but we know that only 20% of our students are getting their learning materials from Follett.
Perfect, thank you. And then one last really quick follow-up. Those estimated prices, are they accounting for, so say I have a course load, say there's 15 units. Is that accounting that all of those classes have course materials? I know it's a high number that have at least some course
It would
materials.
be, yes. It would account for classes that have zero course materials and those that have course materials. So what you'd be seeing in this chart would be an average
Okay.
materials that have been specified by the instructors for those courses for adoption. So those of like on this side here, 15 units, $374 be zero cost. And the other units could have just very high book costs or something like that. So that's an average across all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I really just wanted to present you with data to inform you on your actions that you'll take. Mr. Evans and the TUC is presenting this on Thursday at the Faculty Senate meeting. The Faculty Senate meeting is a public spectator meeting. So if you want a link for that, grab the Faculty Senate office and you can get, come to our Zoom link and watch that presentation and get even more informed and hear from those that are unlike me that still have serious issues with it. All right, thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you. And I can also send the link to everyone once I receive it. Senator Toledo Carranza.
Permission to be recognized.
Granted. Oh. Alrighty. We'll now move on to open forum. Open forum is intended as an opportunity for any member of the public to address the Associated Students Senate regarding any issues affecting CSUN students. Speakers are allowed 3 minutes each to speak. Please sign in using the clipboard for minute recording purposes. Is there anyone here for open forum?
Hello, my name is Daniel. I am the marketing coordinator for Associated Students, and I am here to give James's spiel because he's not here today. So we wanted to let you know about the events happening this week. I'm sure you all know Big Party is happening right now until 3 o'clock on the library lawn. So after Senate, check that out. We also have the farmers market tomorrow from 10 to 2. So just as a normal farmers market, you check that out. They also have the Save the Bees event happening on Wednesday on the library lawn from 10 to 2 as well. I think they're going to have yerba mate and stuff like there. So check that out on the library lawn. And then coming back this year is Silent Disco. It was a lot of fun last year. I don't know if anyone was able to attend that. 3 days. 3 DJs come, give you headphones, and you can jam out to whatever station you like the best. It's going to be happening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the Plaza del Sol. So just make sure you check those out this week, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Oh, I mean, Daniel. Senator Harris.
Point of personal privilege.
Granted. Okay. Anyone else here for open forum? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. Starting with mine. Good morning, everyone. Sorry I was not here last week. I was at the Graduation Initiatives 2025 Symposium it was at like the LAX Marriott Hotel, which was kind of cool. They had like a whole ballroom and stuff. You could just go to sleep a couple floors up and then go downstairs and there's your event. So fun. So this was like a 3-day thing. The majority of my report is going to be about it just because that's really all I did last week. So the first day was the Affordability Summit that was hosted by CSSA, the California State Student Association. And then the next 2 days were just the actual symposium itself. On the first day, we were talking about how affordability can contribute to students succeeding. So the affordability of college. One of my biggest takeaways was what San Francisco State is doing in regard to housing. I'm sure you all know that housing in San Francisco is insane and probably the most expensive in the country. So at SFSU, they do a reduced rate housing program, which offers housing 25% less than the traditional rate for the students. And then students with Cal Grant A or B are automatically enrolled. So you can just try to enroll in that. And then for basic needs, they have basic needs emergency grants. One of them is the rental assistance, which is a one-time emergency grant. So think of it as like the, what is the MATA grant, like the emergency Matador grant. Just think of that, but for rent. And then they also have Hope Crisis grants, which is emergency grant to maintain housing stability. So, to ensure students aren't going homeless just because, rent is too high. And then they have a CSU Rapid Rehousing Program, which they have like community partners with to be able to do something like that. But that was from the Affordability Summit. That was like one out of the 7 million things that they talked about there that can contribute to student success. And then some of the statistics that I got, 53% of students enrolled in the CSU are from historically underserved backgrounds. So that is over majority. And then over 25% are first generation students. And I thought this was interesting. There's CSU alumni earnings are over $70.6 billion in the California labor force. So I don't know, that's like cool. But generally it was really interesting. There was a lot of administrators the whole time. I think I was one out of maybe 10 AS presidents from other campuses, and it's really interesting to hear what they feel like student success looks like. And also it was interesting to question the actual event and how it was structured because of the lack of like, hey, let's see what our students are feeling. We actually have them in the room. Because there wasn't that much of that, which you'd be surprised about. But other than that, it was a great experience and definitely eye-opening in good and maybe also not so good ways. But that was it for really last week. I guess here's some small little things to mention. I won't be accessible through email on Wednesday because IT will be doing some stuff with it. Shout out IT. So if you need me Wednesday, just please text me or I'll be on campus. You guys should all have my phone number. And then next Monday, there is no school. So that means there's no Senate as well. So we will come back to Senate on, wow, the 18th. That's a long time. And then big lecture is next Thursday. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, go do that. Go Dodgers. Wow. Are there any Yankees fans here? Reveal yourselves. You guys are staying quiet. That's crazy. Yeah, that was a fun game. How exciting. Go Dodgers, LA Pride. Okay, and then tomorrow, big day, election day. So please, if you haven't voted, please go do that. Big party is happening outside until 3 p.m. in the library lawn. So go and do that after Senate if you are available. And then last thing is I think I sent an email out to everyone about like last week or 2 weeks ago about the CSUN men's basketball game that's going to be honoring Dr. Boris Ricks, who's a professor that had just recently passed away from the Social Behavioral Sciences College. But I think it's also the first CSUN men's basketball home game next Tuesday. So let me know if you would like to attend because we can get like a section going kind of thing. Next Tuesday at, give me 1 second. I sent you all an email, so you should have the details. I believe it's starting around 6:30 because the remembrance will start before the game. So around 6:30. But yeah, if you have any more questions about that, let me know. And then last thing, big important reminder. Ruby had just sent everyone an email about it. Please put this on your calendars. We're only going to do this once this year, hopefully, but we are going to have our group photo on November 18th. Please be there. November 18th from 11 to 11:30. We're doing this only once. We're not doing this again because it's so hard to get all of us in the same room together, as you all know. So November 18th, Monday, November 18th from 11 to 11:30. Wear your best business casual, even though you should be doing that every Monday anyways. And that's it for me. Have a fantastic week. And yeah, are there any questions? Senator Nunez.
The event for Dr. Ricks, his memorial and the basketball game is on Wednesday, the 13th. So I know sometimes that's confusing.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So if you're interested, please attend.
You're right. Why did I put it on my calendar on the wrong day? One moment. Thank you for that. Thank you for calling me out. And Senator Perez.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you say big lecture was the 7th? Because I'm also pretty sure that's the 14th next week.
No, I said next Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow. You guys are out for me. God. Okay, any more questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the vice president's report. Okay, go ahead.
Reading Vice President Khan's report. It is election week, so make sure you vote. On Wednesday, I went to the UCC Mayor's Luncheon. It was an interesting event, lots of familiar corporation names, and I got to network with a variety of people. Mayor Bass did a fireside chat in which I learned a lot. I think there are a lot of opportunities for student advocacy and activism based on what she shared, and if you're interested, I'm down to chat. I did my first student life tour, which was really fun. I wish I came to CSUN as a freshman and was able to learn more about AS and the USU earlier in my time here. Looking ahead, today is Big Party. It'll be out on the library lawn from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please come by. If you have office hours in that time frame, please go out there and check it out. In case you're curious, PARTY stands for Political Awareness Registration Turnout Youthquake. Wednesday is the Save the Bees event from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Baramian Lawn, which I am very excited about. I will be there. The the California Student Aid Commission Affordability Summit is this Thursday, and our very own Chair of Legislative Affairs, Saravia, will be presenting. Yay! Congressman Brad Sherman will be here Thursday to celebrate the advancement of equity and innovation in entertainment and information media, and I'm privileged to be invited to attend. And of course, elections are tomorrow. This is not an easy election or an easy time for many. UCS research guide was sent out about taking care of yourself during election week. Kevin forwarded it to everybody, so take a look if you want. Iman is always here to talk, open door policy, and to take care of yourself. Thanks.
Any questions on the vice president's report? Senator Gavino.
Point of personal privilege.
Granted. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the Chief of Staff report with Chief of Staff Ramos.
Good morning, good morning. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's quite cold, so bundle up today. All right, as for my report, not much has happened recently, just encouraging students to apply for the Attorney General position. I feel like that's huge and something we really need to fill up. Another thing for Chair Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI Week is from November 18th through the 21st. So Monday, their event's going to take place from 1 to 3 p.m. And that day's collaborating with the Revolutionary Scholars for a mixer. And then on Tuesday from 3 to 6 p.m., they'll have a cultural event featuring clubs and clubs tabling, and they will have food. So you guys should be sure to stop by. On Wednesdays from 2 to 4, they're screening a short film on Lebanese Arab Americans. And on Thursdays from 5 to 7, there will be a deaf and hard hearing day with guest speakers and a Q&A session. So please be sure to drop by to some of the events. Again, it's from November 18th through the 21st. As for Chair of Legislative Affairs, today is Big Party from 10 to 3 p.m., so please be sure to stop by today. It'll be a great event. And then also, don't forget, tomorrow is the last day to vote. So please, please, please vote if you have not. And if you're like, oh, I don't know where to vote, don't you worry. We have a place to vote here at Redwood Hall at room 180. So once again, please vote. And then she will also be moderating a discussion on basic needs of students at the California Student Aid Commission of College Affordability Summit on November 7th. She has all sent you an email out inviting you to register if you guys would like to join. Also, she has sent out a survey, an engagement survey, so please be on the lookout for that and please fill out the survey. Thank you. As for Chair Personnel and Communications, once again, November 18th is a group photo from 11 to 11:30. As our president said, please be there. Please, please, please be there. And then once again, senators, please fill out your graphic requests to promote your guys' town halls. That would be much appreciated. As for chair of elections, they're working with AS Marketing regarding their logo and flyers and outreaching to classmates and students regarding joining the elections committee. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Is there any questions on the Chief of Staff's report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Chair of Finances report with Chair Ponce.
Hey everyone, good morning. I hope you all had a great weekend. I'll just start off with the account funds. Under STAR, there is currently $162,275. In unassigned contingency, there is $795,215. In the philanthropy fund, there is $15,000. In clubs and orgs travel and clubs and org unassigned, there's a combined amount of $25,000. In terms of my report, there is no new business items on this week's finance agenda, and there's nothing to be voted on Senate today. In terms of Finance 101, a lot of students have been coming by, so it's been great to be able to provide information to students regarding the hospitality policy and just the annual budget as a whole. And for the annual budget, ASIT has been working on a annual budget form for AS departments. So if that hasn't been posted already to the AS website, it will be posted. And for the hospitality policy, originally it was supposed to become active on the AS website November 4th, but that has been moved until further notice. And just continuing to work on STARS and supplemental requests, Finance 101 makeup sessions, and today in Finance Committee, we are going to be discussing hospitality updates, hospitality policy updates. That is it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the Chair of Finances report? Senator Gavino.
Permission to be recognized.
Granted. Okay, seeing none, we'll now move on to the standing committee reports. We'll move past external affairs since. Oh, you have a report? Oh, nice. Forgot. We'll move on to the external affairs report with Senator Nunez.
Hello. Hi everyone. I am filling in for Senator Geminiano Aragon because I am the vice chair, so chairing my first meeting today. Wish me luck. So just quickly for us, external affairs, we are revising the draft for the time, place, and manner policy, and some senators are working on it. So our committee will still continue to work on it today, and then our other legislative referral, I believe it was the executive order 1042 or something like that, is tabled indefinitely. So we are going to continue talking about that. And that is pretty much it. Thank you.
Fantastic report. Are there any questions on the external affairs report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the internal affairs report with Senator Gavino.
Good morning. I'll keep it brief. We have one referral in committee, and then we have two that are going to come up in new business this week. Excited to get going on those. But we're going to have a pretty steady stream of codes coming through the committee for now. You'll see it on the agenda today. Additionally, did my first student life tour as well. Shout out Daniel for helping me with that. It was really fun. So glad I was able to help some of the students answer some questions. But yeah, that's it for me. We can move on to our motion out of committee to approve the Communications Committee Code.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the internal affairs report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the motion out of committee to approve the Communications Committee Code. Is there any discussion on that? Senator Gavino.
I'll just explain like I did last week with all the codes that we had. But this just opens our Communications Committee up to first-time freshmen and transfer students, much like we did with the Elections Committee Code and the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Code last week. This is actually a new code because the old Communications Committee Code was dissolved by way of the chair of communications code. I won't get into that, but yeah. So I've had to add a section for responsibilities because all the committee codes have a responsibility section. And so if you see it here, that's all new language. But I talked with our chairperson on communications and also with Denise about it. So yeah, that's it.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. All in favor of approving the Communications Committee Code, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, now move on to the University Affairs Report with Senator Aronson.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 11. We are very quickly approaching finals, and I hope that everybody is doing well and feels prepared. And I hope that the wind stops soon. So we currently in University Affairs are working on 10 legislative referrals. So we got a lot going on, but we are very happy about it. And everybody is working super hard, and I'm very proud of all of my committee members for doing great. And we encourage anybody who sees anything that they would like to change or to talk about changing on the university level to submit a legislative referral. We are always welcome to hear more legislative referrals, and we just want to make as much change for students and faculty and community members as we possibly can. So that's it for my report. Thank you all, and please be well and come to me if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Aronson. Any questions on the University Affairs Report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Interim AS Executive Director's Report with Tim Shapansky.
Good morning, everyone. We'll start in the Children's Center. We've been very active with searches. Our new Assistant Director, Diane Connell's official day was this morning, so she is here on campus. So that's very exciting for our administration team. Our Assistant Office Coordinator position, the offer was accepted, and they are starting their background check and live scanning and all the paperwork. And today I will be putting 2 offers out to supervising teachers. So hopefully we'll start filling up our Children's Center a little bit more. Outdoor Adventures did a trip to Yosemite this weekend. This coming weekend, they will be doing a training trip to the Colorado River under the Hoover Dam. Very cool trip. Sport clubs, women's lacrosse played in a tournament this weekend. Men's ice hockey team is on a 3-game winning streak. Yes. And tickets for Big Lecture, 340 have been given out. 140 seats remain. And then last thing for you all is we are working on a club funding page to help clubs understand how the whole funding process works, from not just the annual budget, but to supplemental everything. So that hopefully soon will be up. And then we are also working on a fee transparency page. So students will have the ability to look at this page and kind of see where their AS fee is going. So we did that during COVID and the transition of the new website that didn't make it. So we're updating that and we'll get that up on the website for students. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the Interim AS Executive Director's Report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the University Advisor's Report with Asia Butler.
No report.
Any questions on Asia's report? Okay, we'll move on to the Faculty Advisor's Report with Dr. Veda Ward.
I do hope that you had a wonderful weekend. This is that time of year when all kinds of things come up, remembering. And so yesterday was, I guess, All Saints Day in some communities. And that was followed, of course, coming after Dia de los Muertos. So it is a time when we're going back to our heritage, who we are, where we've come from. I want to remind you of that in your own academic discipline. And that is remembering those great names of people who have done research, who are the writers in your field. And again, a lot of times the faculty members may bring up these names, but you also have those names in your resources and references for your course. So again, as you move toward the end of the semester, remembering those great names and contributors to your own fields. In addition to this, you've probably heard that your chancellor has now said that we're moving beyond only getting a degree. Student success is measured in that way, but also in terms of your actual preparation and readiness and competitiveness for a position in your chosen field. For many of you, you don't know where you're going to end up yet, but remember that as you're going through each class, your disciplines, and getting that degree, that the goal is, as was mentioned earlier, being a contributing member of our society, whether that's in your family, your organization, or your community. So again, just keeping all of that in mind. And then finally, as you go toward the end of the semester, many of you will be doing a project, a research presentation, other types of testing where you're going to be outstanding. And that's what you want to be thinking about. What is going to be your individual and lasting contribution to the classes, programs, and disciplines that you're in? So again, wishing you great luck. Don't forget to vote.
Thank you, Dr. Ward. Any questions on the faculty advisors report? Senator Tota Carranza.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Veda Ward. My question is about Chancellor. You mentioned about Chancellor and making it 1 degree. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yes, there was actually a little blurb that came out online that talked about the Chancellor's report. And one of the most important things about that to me was that over the years, particularly being in health and human development, everybody said, oh, yes, you know, you're one of those applied fields. And it was a great thing to hear, like it's not only about getting your degree, but once you get your degree, what does that degree actually mean? And how well prepared can we be for a career in our fields? So that was a different interpretation of student success than we've heard historically.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll quickly add on to that. I mean, just the fact that we have a graduation initiative and how student success is being measured is a really big step to understanding and realizing that student success is not just getting good grades and getting your degree. It's about it's okay. I can get loud too. It's about, you know, enjoying your university experience and looking back and being like, wow, I had a good time at CSUN. Like CSUN had a good mark on my, you know, development as a person. And then it also goes to like the administrator side where it's like you want to make sure that your students are leaving happy so that they can contribute back to the community. Why would any student that's graduating from any university want, if they didn't have a good experience, like why would they want to donate, give back to their alma mater, you know? So a lot of food for thought. But yeah, I definitely agree. It's great. The landscape is definitely changing. There still needs to be a lot of work, but it's definitely changing. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move past unfinished business, new business, information items, discussion items into legislative referrals. I have one from Senator Harris titled Vending Machine in Maple Hall. The request is, I would like a vending machine with snacks and drinks, preferably with Celsius and cinnamon buns in Maple Hall. This was suggested to University Affairs, and I will send this to University Affairs. Senator Aronson, you have a good time with that. That's my only legislative referral. We'll now move on to announcements. Are there any announcements from the board? Senator Toto Carranza.
Hello. Oh yeah, it does work because it cannot unmute itself. Well, adding on to Tim's report about sport clubs, archery, women's Olympic record of all time, qualifying record in the so-called archery indoor archery collegiate championship since 2019. So yeah.
Any more announcements? Dr. Ward.
Yes, I apologize. I don't do this very often, but the College of Health and Human Development will be holding its conference this week on Wednesday and Thursday, I think it is. And it'll be in the East Conference Center for the USU. So I'm hoping that you'll all come by and see all of us. And some of the faculty will be presenting there as well as students. And so particularly Senator Ellis, of course, I hope that you'll be there with us. All right, and everybody else, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Any other announcements? I'll briefly go over the things I said in my report again. November 18th, 11 to 11:30, group photo. Look sharp. This is happening once. Okay. I won't be accessible on email on Wednesday. No school Monday. Okay. No Senate. Big lecture next Thursday. Go get your tickets. Guess where you can get your tickets? Good job. And vote tomorrow. Okay, those are my announcements. Oh, and today. Vote by tomorrow. Okay. No other announcements? Okay. We'll move back to Government Secretary Moss for the final roll call.
Vice President Khan, Senator Aronson.
Here.
Senator Ellis,
Here.
Senator Flores.
Here.
Senator Gavino.
Here.
Senator Jimeniano Aragon, Senator Harris, Senator Covenia.
Here.
Senator Miyoshi.
Here.
Senator Nunez.
Here.
Senator Olgan.
Here.
Senator Perez.
Here.
Senator Pulliam.
Here.
Senator Radina. Senator Weda. Senator Shirzadi.
Here.
Senator Toledo Carranza.
Here.
Senator Tran.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will adjourn this meeting at 10:35 a.m.